Hi, this is the Social Jello with Angelo show. My name's Angelo. I'm a social scientist, surfer, martial artist, and a whole lot of other things. Coming to you live from Kasai City, Japan, the Social Jello with Angelo show.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for checking out Social Jello with Angelo. Today I'm going to be interviewing 8th degree professor, black belt. Oh, really? I conjumbled that really good. He's a black belt practicing Kajukenbo. You can hear him in the background. His name is Tim Gaskell. He has this great product line called Kaju Life. Some really sick gear like hoodies and fleece jackets and t-shirts. I really do recommend you check it out. We're going to talk a little bit about that and his journey. So here we go. All right, so here we are. Tim, what's up, brother?
Not much, bro. I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me, man.
So a little bit about you. As you heard the intro,
Yeah.
I always tell my listeners, I don't know Tim. I don't know anybody. Actually,
Yeah.
I meet people online and I get to know them on the show. So Tim,
Yeah, definitely. I'm really happy that we got to meet because of the Kaju Life product line that I have going on with my website. Now, I'm a Kajukenbo black belt. I'm a professor 8th degree, currently the vice president of the Ordinance Kajukenbo Ohana. And I've been training in Kajukenbo since the early 80s. And I've had a lot of adventures with a lot of the Kajukenbo legends and a lot of, personal time and very deep memories with that as well. And I don't really have, like how most of our Kajukenbo systems somehow feel divided. I really like to just, have a good open arm to everybody and always chat it up with people in the happiest of ways, because that's really what it's about when we got to adapt to the times. Which is really what I love about your stuff, like watching Social Jello just in general, watching your clips in your dojo and you throwing down or teaching how you throw down. Like I say, it would, in my opinion, if anyone, could ever kind of just quote it, I think you would be making the principles of what the founders had laid down, those pillars of Kajukenbo like Orones and Nanoi, Seijo, and Parado, and just in general, the other founders as we have them, as awesome as they are, they would be pretty proud of what you're doing over there, kind of crossing borders and building up and adapting to your own style. So much, honor to you. And thank you very much for even just hosting this and making, stuff like this possible for us.
Well,
and again, I was happy we met over the Kaju Life stuff versus in general, Kajukenbo forums where we're, showing rank, or here I'm this belt, here you're this belt. I feel really happy that it was just kind of at this level first, So I'm happy to talk about what I got. Like you said, thank you for the introduction. I have some of the products here with me that I thought were just keepers for me. When I made the first snapback, I don't know, it's probably mirror image, right? But you can see.
No, it's not mirror image. I can read
okay,
it. Yeah,
okay.
they can see that.
On mine, it's mirror image, but let me see if I can get closer without it getting too blurry. So, Kaju Life, dude, we've been doing this for life. I've been doing this since I was a kid, a mat brat, 2, 3, 4, 5, that kind of thing. Family gets started in it. My mother got us started. My father came in. My older brother, my sister. And, they practiced, got rank. We were with the Emperado family for a while. We initially got our rank through Alan Reyes. Reyes Kempo Karate in Fairfield at Sassoon, right? And, rest in peace to, Uncle Alan there. It ended up being just like, everyone passing kind of at the same time, just shortly after my dad passed away. So we just passed the 1-year anniversary of both, Alan Reyes and, my dad. And, we all kind of grew up in this awesome culture that was pretty outside of what the rest of my world was like. I live here in Napa, California. And so the environment is pretty just kind of across the board, mixed with a bunch of cultures that do all sorts of different things. And so no one really treads on other people's stuff. And I think that's really, really awesome. They're open to other people's stuff. And, you didn't have to, let's just say you didn't have to lie to kick it, and it was really open and accepted that you could do something like that. And so when I came up and I was a little bit odd out of the group, as almost anyone could say, is that, well, I studied, Hawaiian martial arts and culture. I went to luau's every year, and, we would end up going to Hawaii and training and doing all these crazy things. And it's, not often, it's often that I get beat up. It's not often I get to play regular sports, hey, don't go. I remember this day in the kitchen when I was a kid, and I asked if I could play football, right? And my mother said, no, you can't play football. I said, why? And she said, because you'll get hurt. And I said, wait. I just spent like all this time going through martial arts, getting my butt kicked. She goes, no. I'm afraid that you'll damage your knees if you play football, and I want you to have knees for a really long time. And I said, oh, okay. So I really took that one to heart, and I just kind of had sport fun, went around and just played fun with all of the buddies instead of joining any kind of team. So I kind of dabbled in that, but so martial arts has always been the sport of my life, but also kind of the Tao, the way of the life in that sense. And I took it to some really crazy levels, dabbling in as many martial arts as I could. Springboard off from Kajukenbo, being more of the eskrima, arnis, stick fighting, knife fighting, and then into the softer styles, along with some hard styles in tandem. But I guess the softer styles of what would stem from Japan. So you could look at Aikido for a little bit of that, but then really stepping into Bagwazang, in the Bagwazang from the Chinese series, of which, and the wrestling for that, Tai Chi Chuan, so having Yang style, Chen style, Wu style, Sun style, and training some of the boxing methods for the Tai Chi Chuan. And also doing, in my teen years, capoeira and BJJ and Danzanryu, and just kind of this entire mix. It was great. Took a trip to Japan. I am very envious of you, sir. You're living out there. That must be the life, right? But as a teen, I had gone to Japan, and it was just an exchange program, so a very short-lived period of time, but enough to be very potent, right? And at that time, I had enough phrases to do some damage or to just get myself in trouble, and enough to be able to understand some things, but it was still at that time very fresh, very green. So I could introduce myself, understand simple conversation, and go back and forth with certain things and be able to be gracious. That was the first thing that I just tried to make sure that I was is in that form, right? So you got to go to, flew to Tokyo, Narita Airport, and then right from there flew up to Sapporo, and stayed one night. Actually, it was a two-day thing. One night, and we took off the second day, but we went to a temple in Sapporo, and then an 8-hour train ride to the kind of southeast-ish of Hokkaido, and it was in Otofuke. And it was kind of like a sister city or sister town that was very close to how Napa was. It was kind of a vegetation area, farm area that cultivated a lot of products for most of Hokkaido and northern Japan, all this fun stuff. It was like, wow, that's quite a resource of an area that's agricultural, and similar to when you think of where we're at here in Napa in California, that you have not just wine country, but all of the other diverse foods and fruits and meats and things coming out of this particular area of whatever we're generating from a modern cultural standpoint, right? For the last 50 to 100 years or so from this area, right? So it was beautiful to kind of be in that spot that kind of felt like home. So already I felt like it was second nature to kind of be there. Got a chance to meet the mayor of the town, have a traditional tea ceremony with the mayor, and we did, all that. It was really cool. Got to wear, the traditional, what is it, yukata or the
Yukata.
yukata. Yeah, so that we had those on, and we did the entire Chanryu ceremonies, and it was really a blast of culture for me. Did a taiko thing over there up on the stage with a group, and people were there just to kind of meet and greet. There was a fair number of people there that we got to talk to, and I still felt very intimidated by how little Japanese I could understand and dish out. Right. We went to the high school, and I got a chance to stay about 2 weeks, a little bit. Yeah, into the 2 week period, kind of over that, and through a festival in late August in Japan. And so the high school was so much fun. I couldn't understand anything that was going on, but I got to sit there and try, and that was the best. But some of the coolest memories of that trip were when I got to do kendo and when I got to do jujitsu, right? Or just in general judo, right? And I walk in, and I had already been familiar with kendo, and I was really having fun and trying to think I was awesome at kendo. And I kind of had a different, I guess, an unorthodox method, like most Kaj people do. And they kind of put us in they put us in all the kendo gear, and we go through a bit of the training, and then we get to go and fence off. Well, I had a fun time fencing off with some of the team members, and they were very surprised as to how quick I actually was in that form. And yeah, I made at least a couple of matches because I surprised them. And then the other, following matches, they caught on, so I lost. And there was, there's always that classic, like the captain or whoever's less than that, and they're just sitting there, and they're really just their hand, everything is like not even moving. Then all of a sudden it goes, and then all of a sudden you're like, you kind of raise a little bit, and then boom, and you're just snapped. And you went, oh, I moved and I'm dead. And that guy won. You hear the screaming and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, I died. But you honorably bow out, and you step out, and you get everyone as the group got praised by the coach and the team. And then I made some friends directly with that. The following day was judo, right? And I was a lot more familiar with judo than I was with kendo. So I ended up they have the Americans on the one side, and it's a spattering of gals who have never done anything before, and then one gal that does soccer. The guy who's next to me, who's kind of a taller, lanky guy, really nice guy, but a photographer, very artistic. And then the other guy who's a little bit more rough and tumble, but he's a little bit softer on approach and happier nonetheless. But I think all of them have never been punched in the face once. And that kind of changes a person when you've been hit, punched, and all that stuff. It kind of changes your brain and how you look at engagement with even friendly player combat. So during those judo matches, I put up a fair fight, and went through again some of the ranks and got up to some of the other people, and I got up to some of the top, because everyone there is either wearing black belt or whatever they are, they're seniors or whoever it is, I don't know. They put us in white belt, and that's fine. And we got the smelly geese. The smelly geese were great.
those are the lenders.
Yeah, the lenders are great. The ones that it's a little bit late in the week and they haven't quite washed it. They wash it at the end of the week. Not every day. That wastes water. You can't waste water. You just wait till the end of the week. It's fine. It's just sweat. There's no staph infections here. Right. But that was back in the 90s, right? So there was a little bit less regulation. Anyway, I had fun, out there training, and in 06, which was about a decade later, I had gone to China. And in between then, I had started training wushu, gongfu, in different methods of the animal systems, as well as just namchuan, just different standard fist methods, and tai chi chuan, which was mostly the People's Republic version of the Yang 24, which was made back in the 50s. And as well, we had in that same grouping of knowledge, it was mostly the popularized styles that were like the 1988 or 89 version of the Yang 42, and some of the Chen style forms, some of the newer ones. And it wasn't until I came across an instructor who was really well versed in the Chinese martial arts that ended up showing me a series of just branches in like really rapid time, just right in front of me. Just said, okay, here's this system, this system, this system, this system. Here's all the meanings behind them. Here's the history behind them. And by having so many layers of these concepts of between history and the cosmology, how it relates, how it relates to the stars, how it relates to numerology, how it affects the human body, so the medicine, the artistic side, the astrological side, the astronomical side, so a lot of the different takes of how Chinese martial arts could be viewed as much more than just a martial art, but rather something that embarks on something called like the five excellences, or just the excellences in general. They wanted to have that powerful number, between yin and yang and its four principles, with the five elements and the eight, all all the fancy numbers. And I became really enthralled with just how deep martial arts could get, because where I was traditionally brought up was you hit them and they fall down. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was shallow, it was effective, because the goal was very direct. This is a self-defense martial art that has a spiritual side. That spiritual side happens when you are doing the Kajukenbo prayer. And then the spirit is with you as you're doing your training. And then you get down, you take off your belt, and then you're able to step back into what you are as you left it at the door before you stepped on the mat. That was a very, very pure traditional viewpoint. You get down on your knees, put your hands down, you have someone protecting you, looking over you, everyone chants. Then when everyone chants, you have your sergeant in arms step away from the door, you get up, you praise honor, you both, everybody, the instructors, and, everything that is. Right. So, and that was a very traditional viewpoint for, the Reyes Kempo Karate group, as well as our group, for the longest time. And then we wanted to kind of spread that out. And we ended up being a little bit more open to every denomination. Therefore, we ended up doing more of a goal setting. And we brought in more of a goal setting, which was, now is your time to set your an internal chant. And we had people focus on breathing, focus on their belly, focus on the pulse, focus on how that is arranged to kind of fuel their calmness of no mind principle, mushi no mushi, right? The hui wu wei, action of no action principle for the engagement between whatever it is. And, that philosophy, and trying to teach that philosophy to people, kind of spun me into being more of, well, now I have to study the philosophy of all this stuff. So you start reading everybody's poetry, everybody's books, everybody's stuff, the self-reflection, and how their martial arts and its effectiveness, made them think about the world in a different way. Being punched made them think about, the world in a different way, go figure. So for me, I tried to bring, a lot of this to my community through what demographic my community had. And it was strong with kids, but most of the martial arts programs around here had really strong kids programs. Kudos, they got it, right? And ours had a fair number, but more so we had the wellness programs with the aging community, those that were being affected with arthritis or stroke recovery or Parkinson's or any of these particular medical issues that they needed help recovering from post what their insurance was going to allow them to kind of take care of, right? So I felt like Kajukenbo, as effective as it was for external martial arts, really wasn't the martial art necessary for that demographic, for the aging community. There would be a much more effective way to give them external martial arts if they had the physical capacity to work that. And more often would they, have that ability to do something simple like, being prepared and trained with and conditioned with a sidearm of sorts. Rather than being able to punch and kick someone. I think it would be better to do something like that for that type of individual. But that depends on the mind frame of that person. So what we were approached with was, how can we get that person to get up out of their chair and walk again, raise their arms up again, start breathing normally again, have a more erect posture again, and start having an increased quality of life. We found like the community really needed it. And it really still does. And I see that kind of spreading, especially, because of the unfortunate times of this entire year. So that's what brings me to kind of like all the way up into this time frame of 2020, where most of my community, where I brought Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong as an internal martial art to, kind of came to a halt. I was no longer able to teach at any of my resource centers, like the gyms or the wellness centers or the assisted living centers, or maybe some of the nonprofit funded senior living communities, right? As well, my dojo, because everyone went shelter in place and no one could throw anything down for months, right? Remember? And that really hit it kind of hard, but made me go inside and meditate quite a bit. I was really happy for those prior years. I was contemplating, is everything going to fold? Am I going to have to close everything down? Right? Or am I going to be able to continue going with this? So what do I need to do to open that up? And I had already put together a website for my Tai Chi course, and I called it my Tai Chi course. And it was just like, it's nothing. It's not that it's something extraordinary. It's a system of Tai Chi that is directly for a demographic of people that have a need for wellness, internal martial arts, right? Okay, and then everyone's here, and I'm rambling. This is stuff that you could probably edit. I don't know. Right?
Yeah, I don't.
You just stop me, whatever. Right?
Like I said, I don't edit anything out. But I do.
Oh yeah, please.
Ask. I have a few questions that I want to come back to you with right now, real quick. So before you continue, if you have a direction you're trying to go into, write it down real quick, and then you can continue.
I got it up here.
But there's a few things I wanted to get to real quick. And Please. One of the things I want to mention to my listeners, and I always say this, is how is kind of the difference between Kajukenbo schools and how each one is different, and we're given the liberty to do what we want. Yes. And say and run our programs however we like, but there'll always be these little differences. So, like, one of the differences that I wanted to mention was the sergeant of arms, because right now anybody listening who from Kajukenbo knows what you're talking about. But anybody who does, any MMA guy who's listening right now, or any other martial arts, like, what's the sergeant of arms? The sergeant of arms was a failed concept in my school. I was the first and last sergeant of arms in the program, because.
Kudos to you.
The next guy, I guess, did so badly that my instructor got sick of calling me. I can't believe so and so didn't open the. I can't do this anymore. It's done. He told me, he finally calls me one day after like the 1,000th complaint of the new sergeant of arms. He's like, "You were the first and last sergeant of arms. I'm never doing this ever again." Yeah. So the sergeant of arms is kind of like an assistant to the head instructor who helps set the class up, open class, close class. If there's flags, he does the post ceremonies to fold up the flags properly and put them away. He's also the person that parents can greet parents as they come in. He's like the second. He's like an apprentice, if you will, to the head instructor.
See, that's an interesting one. There was in the Reyes Kempo Karate group, Sergeant in Arms was the second rank to the first person in the class. So the highest ranking person was the assistant that was also teaching class or assisting teaching class, or getting everybody by command to grab things, put things away, clean things up, make things happen, right? And then the second person, the second in command, would have done the sergeant in arms, which was at the point in time we do the prayer. That second rank would stand up and do the, salute, and then step away and go to the door that separates the dojo from the outside, or wherever that is, whatever that is, and stand in set position, in ready position, facing the outside. And no one at that time is allowed to come in. No one is allowed to go out. Right? That is a time where people are prevented from walking in, because the people who are training, their eyes are closed. The instructor is looking over the people, making sure the people are doing the chant, as well as making sure that the door is safe. And yeah, that was pretty much it. At that point, once the prayer was done, the sergeant in arms came together and then walked back to position, went down. And yeah, that sergeant in arms was doing the prayer while in set position, standing at the door facing outward.
And then that brings me to my second point to anybody listening.
Yeah.
Kajukenbo I'll say was in the past tense because it still is. We'll say is a Christian martial art in Hawaii. That's how it started, as a Christian martial art. As time went by, some different schools changed things a little bit. My instructor at the community center, right? Especially because, well, he never had it though, because he got this.
Who was your instructor again, bro?
Oh yeah, my Professor Ronnie Isagiri.
Okay.
So he comes from the Abad method. So
yes,
they did have the Kajukenbo prayer at one point, but when, I guess the story I heard was when they got into the community centers were non-denominational, and they had different religions there. So they said, you guys can't make people pray. They told them. So
that's correct.
What they did was they made it so that we would, I guess the way they would do it in the beginning of class, the prayer got turned into 10 seconds of meditation. Now, but I got here way later. So when I came in, it was already just meditation. We'd bow in, we'd do our stretches. After our stretches, we'd do like 10 seconds of meditation and start. And it was not, and he was very like legal about how he said it. Right now, we're just going to do some breathing exercises. He didn't even call it meditation.
So it sounds like we transitioned into the same thing your instructor transitioned to as well, because of the same liability issue.
Yeah. And at the end of it, we would do we'd bow out, we'd go down on one knee. We go down to one knee, which is to symbolize the prayer at the end, but we just go down to one knee and then both knees. And then any new people, he would mention why, like, so once I would get a question, why do we go down on one knee? Is this like a ninja thing or something?
Absolutely, it's a ninja thing. Keep it like that. That's really cool. I like that. We can make it a ninja thing. Everything adapts, right? It could be anything now.
So, my instructor was honest. He's like, at one point there was a Kajukenbo prayer, and this would be the point where you'd pray. But hey, just letting you know, we're not doing that here. And also to let you know that if you do go to another Kajukenbo school, don't be surprised if there is a Kajukenbo prayer.
Or an event.
Or an event. Yeah, they do that in some of their traditional roots. So just keep that in mind. So little side note.
Everybody out there hearing that number as to what the sergeant in arms was. Now that's very old school for me. That's 80s through 90s there, and then beyond that time period, liability set in, and definitely freedom of religion and other things kind of play. So you have to adapt, and that's what not just the teaching style, but what the art is really about, and what that kind of makes us look at as well. And that's where I come to the difference between where most people have a discussion about what internal martial arts and external martial arts, and how something like Tai Chi is not an effective martial art, and how something like Muay Thai is stronger than Tai Chi. I mean, they're both amazing martial arts with a certain type of weight in these varying components because of their intention. And when you train with a certain intention, then it's geared towards that goal, right? The fighter trains to fight. The internal practitioner trains to generate and cultivate, versus the fighting method. But there is still an internal to put it simply, a war or battle that's constant. In the Native American culture, you would say it's the war of the two wolves inside of the heart. One is benevolent and tyrannical, and the one you feed wins. And so, as an internal practitioner versus an external practitioner, we're both training for the same thing, a circumstance that occurs that puts us in a defense that allows us to fight or engage and prevent or protect ourselves. And so we say, what is external self-defense or external martial arts, right? Things like kickboxing and all that other stuff, Kajukenbo included, right? Well, that would be by self-defense to protect myself, to protect others, my friends, my family, and by others, that also includes the attacker. Some people would not agree, but by the finishing of that, to protect those from undue harm. So protect myself, my others, my friend's family, and the attacker from undue harm. That doesn't mean don't break the guy's leg or something, break his arm. He'll live, or they'll live, they'll learn to not punch you again. That's a teaching lesson. That's a life lesson. But you're letting that person live, and you're being, humble about that, because a lot more could have happened. And that's not necessarily a boasting comment. We know, as practitioners of serious martial arts, and any practitioner of a serious martial arts knows how much damage they can create to someone or something or a group of people, have they end up unleashing that. And that's not a measure of pride, that's a measure of reality. There is a probability that someone like us, yes, even though we have trained externally to control ourselves, that we could unleash a lot onto a opponent or opponents. And the motivation could be really strong. Someone messes with your family, and then, oh no, it's off, bro. No, it's like, we're going. It's in. And that's something, where people kind of change their perception on how they look at external martial arts. And they think that 1% probability for most people of, them getting accosted or pushed or punched, is so low that they don't have to train for it. But we train for that 1%. And for most people who are in law enforcement or the military, that's higher than 1%. And that's still enough to generate things like PTSD, and to throw people into some kind of component that now takes them to the internal side, right? And so when I discuss philosophically this difference between external and internal, they're the exact same, right? On the external martial arts, that self-defense thing that we talk about, to protect yourself, to protect others, and to protect your attacker from undue harm, right? And then you have internal, to protect yourself, to protect the others, to protect the attacker from undue harm. Now we have to define what those other two are. Well, that's easy. Myself, this, me, it, the consciousness that we can always question in whatever fashion. The others, your organs, your viscera, the components that make you you, the system and the chemicals and all that stuff that happen. And then what's the attacker? Unfortunately, that's you. So whether it be, you're holding your keys and you're looking for your keys and you're getting angry about trying to find your keys, but the keys are in your hand. And then you finally figure out that when you unclench your angered fist and hand, you see that your keys were in your hand. So you get angry that you didn't realize that your keys were in your hand. Some people would burst out in laughter hearing something like that, because they've been there and they realize, well, that was the attacker. I attacked myself. And by doing that, what are we talking about by harm? Well, when you're angry and you're pushing yourself into that form, you have the series of changes electrically in the brain and chemically in the brain that create stress. And that stress does eat at you chemically. And it creates problems for the rest of the system. So it creates disharmony in the body and kind of destabilizes or unstabilizes chi. And we can talk about chi in all sorts of different ways, and I can talk about that for hours in another Social Jello. But this is where it came into, comparing what people may discuss, like maybe Joe Rogan or maybe some other people that really slam Tai Chi and say that stuff is worthless. I'll say right now, I have used Tai Chi Chuan and Ba Gua Zhang for fighting, and it's effective. Why? Because efficient moves are exactly that. You either do them and you can compare them, and you can see, wow, that person's shape, and I bet they don't even study Ba Gua Zhang. That's a fighter in an MMA match, and he just threw a Ba Gua Zhang technique. I bet they didn't think it was. I bet they thought it was this kind of thing. I bet in their brain, they didn't even know what they were doing when they were doing it. They just went for it. And then everyone else in their own systems hyperanalyze and say, oh, well, that's, parting the wild horse's mane, or that's somehow the guy's taking the guy's back kind of, so they compare those modes, and it's really effective, right?
And
But internally.
kind of touching on what you're saying here,
Mhm.
I remember the whole martial arts community, they went into a huge not fury, but like they were just raging and on, so excited about Conor McGregor's knockout shoulder ramp, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's a typical move in a lot of different kung fu styles, is to attack with the shoulder.
Oh yeah.
Which is interesting though, like, but when Conor McGregor did it, they were just like, oh, McGregor did it. What is this thing? Let's break it down. And like, I really go back to what I read about before I did Kajukenbo, and I was trying to figure stuff out on my own, and I came across Bruce Lee's book. He had just a great quote.
Tao of Jeet-Kune-Do.
Yeah, the Tao of Jeet-Kune-Do, and he talked about how unless a person can grow 2 extra arms or 2 extra legs, at the end of the day, when someone starts this martial arts journey, that they're all the same. That a lot of people divide themselves among styles, saying this is karate, or this is kung fu, or this is jiu-jitsu, this is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, this is wrestling, this is Greco wrestling, this is catch wrestling. But at the end of the day, if you embark on this journey of what can my body do, I want to defend myself, and there'll always be, like you said, that second half, how do I heal? Right now, even the BJJ community, right now, there's a really big thing about recovery training. How do I heal? Because it's so hard on your body. What am I supposed? And now they're even in the hardest of styles, you're gonna have this component of, okay, so I want to live longer. I don't. I did this to live longer, but my neck is killing me from holding that triangle choke. So like, what do I do? How do I train when I can't slam somebody or get someone trying? And that's where again.
I agree.
That
the
soft
physical side definitely takes its toll. I mean, and it's not just physical. I mean, some of those MMA fighters, you guys are taking elbows to the face, knees to the face. Muhammad Ali, bro, he took some pretty harsh hits to the head, and it's not uncommon to have things like pseudo Parkinson's creep up on people like us because we've been hit in the head. Now we got to factor in, you look at that, or just in general, that shaken brain thing going on with football players and all that. And so and they're not having super direct hits to the head, but they have body impact. And some of them do take some direct contact to the head pretty damn hard, right? And that, that takes its toll over time, and things that you can't really repair and that affect your body. And that's physically. But when you think about it this way as well, someone who has extreme PTSD doesn't need to be in the physical environment to have it triggered and to relive it and to be chemically there, where it is visual. They are there, they're living it. It is happening again. And it takes them to the stress point, then to a physical stress point, which is 90 mental, 10 physical, and that kind of fun approximation of a ratio of mental to physical attributes, right? So you can see how the brain and how the body truly have a connection problem over the period of time, where the brain imagines or accesses the region that helps the imagination and the chemical production from it to spin off or to step off of that into the next level, which takes them deeper into it like a dream. So that's the next level. Some of these fighters are going to come out of these cage matches thinking that they're in the cage, and it probably happens when they're sleeping and they're throwing punches in their sleep, or they're throwing gestures like they're kicking. And if they have a spouse next to them, that spouse has to make sure she's sleeping like this, kind of thing, and that she has good front kicks too, or he has good front kicks too, depending on what's kind of fighting thing you got working on. And that the internal component now takes care of not just the physical damage, but the emotional and mental traumatization that occurs that stays in the imagination. When I say visualize a punch coming to your head, counter that punch, maneuver around the punch, create the other counter, throw the person down to the floor, now lock them up. I bet you can do it. And I bet most of the people who watch this show who are martial artists can do that in an instant and throw down, know exactly the options for almost all of those circumstances. Now that chemical that is happening is minute, but it's still there. An Olympic runner with an EEG scanner on their brain told to visualize running in the form that they do, and then put them in the environment on a treadmill, say go, and they start going. The brain signal matched up within very little of a fluctuation or a variant right there. And that tells you the brain is so powerful to produce from the imagination, being the platform of the mind and the controller of the brain. That circumstance for something like reimagining a fight is just as real as having the fight, minus the physical dish of that particular impact as it would have occurred from the past, right? But this is still feeling it. That's where yoga, tai chi, qigong meditation actually kind of step in. So Kajukenbo practitioners that have taken a lot of hits to the head, if they don't have already an internal practice, whether it be prayer, whether it be meditation, whether it be just chilling out in the sun with whatever, thing they want and just kind of lay back and just soak up the rays, bro, and just not have a thing to do about it, or maybe your time is the night time and you're out there and you're just chilling out under the stars. Whatever it is that you need to connect back to you so that you can get back into the real fight or the real game, then great, because Kajukenbo is just one layer of that real game, as we know, when you get to a certain level. Hopefully people like newscasters or podcasters like Joe Rogan and all these other people can come to this kind of conclusion or an agreement that self-defense lays both ways. The call of the question has to be answered. If you're a fighter, then fight and train like a fighter. If you're an internal practitioner, don't step in the ring with the fighter like a dumbass. And if you're a fighter and you step into the ring with an internal arts practitioner, know the arena is not about how hard you can hit. It's more about how much you can surf inside and feel the components that make you you. And that takes the fight into a different stage, into a different ring, right? It's still there, but it's perceived differently, and it actually counteracts like what we were just talking about.
And it's interesting, like what you just mentioned. And I mean, again, we got to also take into consideration. I've talked shit about Rogan before, but then again, it's because at the same time,
he's got a strong personality, bro.
He's no. I've talked what happens with Joe Rogan. You got to remember he's a professional comedian, and he's said it before.
Oh yeah,
right. Like sometimes I am joking, so don't take everything I say seriously. I think he made a joke about who's about wait, I'm gonna butcher his name. Who's the kickboxer? Macrop.
Mirko Krokop.
He made like a small joke about Mirko Krokop.
Oh, boy.
He was pissed. Like, pissed. I guess he tweeted him like, "We're not friends anymore." And I was like, "Oh no,
don't be like that."
He had to apologize on his podcast. Like, I was just joking, and it reminds me.
Yeah, man, you got to.
He's got to remember.
You can't take what most people say on these podcasts in their heightened state of emotion to coax you out of your state of center, right?
And again,
you gotta kind of take it lighthearted.
He's a comedian. Another thing I wanted to mention though is he's even said he's also said, and like you said, that we're martial artists. So like when I listen to that show, people don't realize that when I listen to that show, I'm not listening to Joe Rogan, the UFC commentator. I know a lot of people love him, and that's why. And I thank all the fans, because I did end up with some Joe Rogan fans, because I interviewed someone who he's promoted on his show before. I actually already interviewed 2 people from that. But so I do appreciate the listeners. Thank you for sticking around this long. But one of the things that I do mention though is, as a martial artist, when I listen to it, I'm really happy for his success. But at the same time, as a martial artist, some of the stuff he says I completely disagree with as a martial artist.
Oh yeah,
and
likewise.
Because I don't.
There's a common thread that we could agree with, but there's a lot that I would have to say. And I think that's mine.
And he comes from a Taekwondo background, which I can totally, which I can dismantle some other time. But
and I can build up as well too, because there's as what most of the Kajukenbo world has been exposed to as the ATA, right?
Yeah.
Versus actually meeting someone who's trained Taekwondo in its fighting method and
Yeah.
employs the punches included. And I've met some very formidable Taekwondo practitioners
Yeah.
as their primary, who lay it pretty devastating.
And again,
So that just changes your mind, the bias.
I've met MMA fighters that came from Taekwondo. It's
Oh, yeah.
not to take away from their journey, but one of the things to touch on what you said though earlier about
Please.
the internal and meditation, right? Even Joe Rogan has talked about he meditates. He's talked about how he meditates. So like I think again, what a lot of people get kind of split up on is what you call it and where it came from.
Yeah. No,
right?
absolutely.
Because some people are completely okay if I said to you, hey, to relax on a Sunday, I go with my church and we sing songs about God, and I listen to the pastor, and it makes me feel really good at the end of it, and I have this sense of community. And then, well, some other people listen to that and be like, oh, that leaves me with a dirty feeling because of all this horrible stuff that happened in my life.
Yeah, their shadow.
I'm an atheist, and I believe that it should be this way. And my center is found in taking long walks in the forest. And
there you go.
So right. And I was in the middle, like, hey, that's good, that's great. These are two sides of the same coin. Like we can. In psychology, we say operational definitions, right?
Yeah.
If it's a dog, what makes up a dog? Does it have 4 legs? Does it have a tail? Like these things are really important when we're talking about self-healing, because a lot of times we're arguing, saying that's not a dog. That's not a dog. Wait a second, a wolf? Well, because that's a beagle and that's a wolf. They're not canines. Like,
No, exactly, exactly. No, there's multiple ways to look at it, and that's kind of the philosophy that I stem from when I think about internal and external. That it has to fit the call, the question, what your environment is. I have people think of a question: when was the last time you got into a fight? Or when was the last time you got punched in the face? And you don't have to answer that, but you think about it. And then you think, when was the last time, okay, so when was the last time that you were in a fight or punched in the face? And then, when was the last time you fought with yourself? Right? And some people can answer that question very quickly. And then some people have a hard time answering that question. And some people's ego gets in the way of that question because that battle is almost 24/7, because there's always a decision that's happening. And just that decision itself is somehow a part of or tethered with the internal battle that we talk about. Right? So we talk about the high probability fight. And what we prepare for externally is that now less than 1% factor, because of how we're socially distancing and creating this distance. And unless you're in law enforcement or you're forcing yourself upon others, that the circumstance is low that you have to use your, external martial arts, And then how often now is it that you have to fight with yourself regarding things of change? So then that tells you your probability of where you should train or where you could train. And most of the time, as everything is 90-10, and there's spiritual sides of Kaj and MMA and Muay Thai and all of that. And then you can have that dose of it, that there should be some kind of hand in hand where you're taking just as much care of the higher probability event as well as the lowest probability event. Modern martial arts being effective could be anywhere between being really awesome with your sidearm and having a concealed carry and ready for any event, having, some kind of that training that allows you to help people in case of an emergency as, maybe a first responder, take the responsibility to do that stuff, or just don't do it at all. Some people choose to really put themselves on the line, go out there and fight fires, go out there and fight floods and pandemics and riots And their intention as Kajukenbo practitioners in law enforcement or private security, they're putting themselves at risk and military. They put themselves at risk in order to make sure that their principles are upheld. And somewhere along that, if they're a Kajukenbo practitioner out there doing that, then their principles are pretty much in line, the foundation of which to ours, which are very morally structured. And we know how we like to treat people. Yeah, some people treat people badly. They talk bad about stuff. They smear people online. They end up throwing something out there, and it takes a bigger person to not come back out on that forum and troll them back. There's some way to handle it. You either PM the person, or you just kind of let it, just like let it go, because you are you, or you're good, right? Everyone does something differently and contributes to the art that's supposed to adapt in the first place. So how did I, like in 2020, where did everything go, right? Well, it stopped. I couldn't teach Kaj. I couldn't teach any of the kickboxing or MMA classes or the boxing classes, anything. Tai Chi, Chuan Yoga, nothing. It was pretty much laid off of all that stuff, and the dojo was floating, right, with monies we were trying to build up. I'm a full-time instructor. Teaching martial arts is my job. It's my life, right? I do not have another job. I teach martial arts Sunday through Friday. I start my classes anywhere between 9 and 10 in the morning. They're done at 7 in the evening. And I have breaks between where I can use the bathroom and I can shove a couple of cashews in my face for lunch and then move on to the next class. And I do have a thermos that has really good Hawaiian coffee in it, bro. I gotta send you some of that stuff. It is great. But, my life is revolved around the perpetuation of our traditions. As Kajukenbo practitioners, as what I feel as though my exposure to Nanoi, Sijo, and Parado, and my exposure to Uncle Frank Ordonez, co-founder, Professor Frank Ordonez, and being closer to them, as well some of the other people that I've had the exposure to, and they all share a like principle. And I know deep down a lot of the Kajukenbo practitioners, more than 90% of us understand those principles, because we all kind of came from that generation of legends, right? So we always talk highly of those generation of legends as best we can, without smearing our own past as we move forward, adapting into the future. That's hard to do, bro. That's really hard to do, because we got so much feeling behind it. Yeah. So that's where I came into the third quarter of the year in 2020, and everything was at a loss. And I know that I had my Tai Chi course program for videos and the Kajukenbo side of that for my direct students and for, facilities that are international. So I'm making coaches nationally and spreading the word internationally, having clients internationally. I just, certified a coach over in New York. It was all over the web. Hey, we have to adapt, right? So if I can't see this person and they need to be certified in order to approach the arthritis community as an arthritis certified instructor kind of thing, and then also going through my course for Tai Chi to understand this is the tool you need and these are the components you need. Here is what you need to study. Show me that you got it. Now let's work together continuously afterwards, after your coach certification. And I'm doing coaches, right? It's not black belt. It's a coach certification for a specific demographic. And that might be where it is for most of these practitioners evolving using virtual software. So I have that division, which, helps. It really does. And I just started group classes back up, opening up the school again, which was great. But what about those other damn near 6 months, right? So I opened up the Kaju Life Shop and the Pro Shop. And I started just designing stuff because I'm like, bro, I am so bored right now. I've been sitting here for months and I am bored. And this is painful boredom, right? And I had done the OKO event live virtual stuff, and that was great. That was like the highlight of my year, bro. Back in like June, late June, I was like throwing all that together. It was such a blast having the instructors. Shout out Michelle Manu, amazing, great grandmaster Jason Groff. Thank you so very much, Grandmaster Dean Goldade, and Grandmaster Zen Dawson Giles, and then of course my brother to the heart, man, Mickey Lopez. Sifu Mickey Lopez. He's a man, dude. He is some fast hands, fast sticks, fast knives. He is blistering fast, man. He just nails me in the crown of the head before I can even blink, bro. He's so damn fast. I love that guy, and such a humor on him too. I love that man to death. Anyway, with that, kind of core group of people showing some really fun work, and then we had a performer, BJ Kanoe Hulen, right? He's a wonderful musician, with Hawaiian music, especially that he plays other styles, right? But that's kind of like the forte, right? That's what he likes to exhibit to people. I met him at the PCC, bro, right? Oahu, the Polynesian Cultural Center, for those that don't know what we're talking about, if it's in code for all of you out there. And the cat was an MC at the luau, right? And I was wearing a Kajukenbo shirt, right? And if you in Hawaii wear a Kajukenbo shirt, you're gonna get flagged down by one of us. We're gonna come at you. We're gonna like come up to you and be like, "Hey, bro, who you training with? Who you play with? What you? Yeah, right?" And they're gonna be like, "Hey, yeah, I'm with Rana Stellar, or I'm with so and so, or I'm with the Abads, or I'm with the Reyes group, or I'm with the Cuscos." It's like, so you kind of or the Emperados, or whoever it is, right? Right. So they always kind of come at you like, "Oh yeah, awesome. And then you buddy up right there because you don't really know by reputation. So it's all good in the front end, right? Until you know each other's reputation and who's doing what and what. Oh, screw the politics, bro. Just aloha. We spread aloha. And that's kind of one of the biggest principles in the simplest on the Kajukenbo, right? So I ended up saying, I'm bored as hell. I'm going to produce just like a bunch of images using Adobe Photoshop, in conjunction with some cool music and whatnot. And I started messing around with the Clover. And with the Clover, it came out with like a tribal overlay with some distress layer remove and stuff like that. And like I said before, I put one of my first things in that I wanted as a collector's, which was this Kaju Life snapback, right? And it's embossed, right? So that's embroidered. And I totally love this thing, right? And I don't want to like crease it. I still got my tags on it. I still got the paper in it. But bro, dude, this is fat, man. This is ready to go. No, I had a great time, man, with this one. And then I got a secondary one that I can wear, plus a regular one, kind of like the dad hat without the mesh back, right? The flat cap there, that you can kind of cup in. And that one's pretty chill too. I was like, dude, if I'm gonna do anything Kaj, bro, it's got to be the flip flops, right? So I ended up doing the flip flops. Okay, I'm going to go retro here probably in next month. I'm doing designs for fanny packs. Nice. Even though no one's really doing fanny packs really anymore.
Rogan is. So he will. There's a marketing idea right there for you.
I know, right. I'm currently right now. I'm wearing the piped fleece jacket. It's got the Kaju Life insignia on here, and then if I can turn around and show you my backside, how's that look? Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it's the distress design or impact design.
Actually, while we're here, is it cool since we're kind of wrapping up right now anyway?
Absolutely.
Is it cool if is it cool if I share my screen and we just check out the website real quick? Is that
that's great.
All right, here, let's do that. I have here,
you got the website up, the mytaichicourse.com/shop.
Yeah, I got the one that you sent me here. So I'm gonna go to
on
My Tai Chi. Can you say that for the listeners? Because the YouTube people, they'll be able to see it.
Right on.
If you want,
so for the podcast listeners out there, this is mytaichicourse.com. That's MYTAICHI AICHICOURSE.com. Again, it's just a simple way for me to outreach to my clients directly, to provide them with a video resource, but then also to put the shop on. And I just expanded the website to the shop back in August, and I felt like just some chill Kajukenbo designs and some clothes were ready. Nice, yeah, I see that. That's really chill. Look at that. So yeah, right now if you go up to the top left, I'm wearing currently the piped fleece jacket, and I have a couple of these in some older designs, but not of Kaju Life stuff. Just in general, you could probably see the back if you go down a little bit. There's the back of that. And scroll up. Yeah. And if you zoom in on that, yeah, there. So it's kind of rough right there, but it does have a distressed kind of impact look to it. This thing is super comfortable. I love it. But I did a resize on the front label. So if you go back to the front, it's a little bit, this one's the newer one, which it's a little bit larger than the one that I have currently. And I wanted to have that. And I find that it's really kind of a comfy jacket. If we go back to the other, just to the shop in general, there's the hoodies. Now that thing right there with the yin yang inside of the cube or inside of the box, there is just a personal design that I use for my website. That is my rendition of, kind of making the yin yang into its unique design for my business. So that's my business design, but it's also the logo design. I thought it was pretty chill, and I like superhero t-shirts, that have on the front, like the Green Lantern or the Superman or Batman, you got that. And the distressed look with somewhat of the spray effect and all that, it reminds me of like the superhero t-shirts and stuff. So there's compression gear, and there's that the red hoodie that you had there too. That one right there. Is that a nice one?
Yeah, that's this one right. I like the entire line.
Yeah.
I have.
So was that the one that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, that was the one I was talking
cool.
about. That's
right on.
The
Thank you.
Hoodie. Yeah, that one's really cool.
I was having some fun with the Kaju Life series and the My Tai Chi course series. If you scroll down, you'll see a lady in a dress, right?
Okay.
And for that, if you click on that right quick, it's the Aloha series of quick view there. And this is just, it's like just a sundress, but a night dress at the same time. You can wear it on the island or you can wear it out, and it's just like a quick tribal trim on the bottom. It's got a plumeria on the left side upper lapel, and I can customize those kinds of things, make it in different fashions, and there's also different colors that I can work it too. So if people are like, hey, that looks really nice and we want you to make something unique in that, I can do that too. So I started a series that was Aloha, which also have kind of like the Honu and all the other stuff that go with it. The turtle, right? So if we go back one to the main shop page, yeah, and then scroll down below the gal with the dress. There's the beanie, there's those flip-flops, but those are the newer flip-flops. You see these flip-flops right here, it has the clover, but it doesn't have the Kajukenbo thing. And then I got the beanie. I'm going to actually get an all-over print beanie going on design. That's a classic for really fun, weather, like you're out there snowboarding. And we got some people that go out to the Tahoe area too. So scroll down just a little bit more, bro. Okay, so to the left is a similar style on the Aloha series that has the plumeria on the bottom of the bikini line, and then the left side of the bikini bottoms, it has on the front a plumeria as well. And it's just supposed to be a simple design. Again, it's reversible. Actually, if you click on that, it has a coloration. You see how it kind of flipped right there?
So
so it kind of goes with another modification on the design, right? It might be there. Okay, So it's the Hawaiian tribal, or just the tribal in general, and what you would see on a tatau that has the plumeria inside of it. It's using, again, Photoshop in order to make the color gradient from like a hyper green to a kind of neon hyper purple. I felt like those were pretty chill colors, just coming out of that. So there's the black, and so that's the same. That's the same bikini, just you can kind of flip it over. So I was like, oh, if I can do the inside and the outside, I might as well make it two bikinis in one. And if you're traveling, then you would think that would be a plus, because if you're out there, you don't want to pack two. You got two in one. You go out to the beach, you have the one there, and then you're like, okay, I can kind of throw it in the wash, or not the wash, but like the sink for a bit, kind of get the day off of it. And then when I go out tomorrow, or maybe even a little bit later today, I can just flip it inside out and go out and do the other thing. So I was going to make a little bit more of the reversibles, since we're coming out on more of the springtime, but that was just kind of like a pilot with the tribal design, right? And then let's go back just a little bit to the shop there, and go into that same row where the bikini was. And to the right is the mask. Oh yeah, the traditional red color with the black, everybody, is a student t-shirt. So if you are a Kajukenbo student, you're not wearing a black t-shirt, you're wearing white or you're wearing red. And that was most tradition. So then when you see kind of that color contrast and you're thinking, why would I put that color scheme together? Because you're working mostly with the black, white, red colors that were coming from most of the traditional Kajukenbo colors, right? And to the right is the premier face mask. We don't have to click on that one, but you kind of get the idea. To the right is kind of a more of a special series. It's an all-over print. It has a shoulder strap that goes from front to back. It has the sleeves in the same. It's more, to me, to fit this series. Or something similar to this series. I'd like to get a white trim on this hat here, and then be able to pair that with the white with that. It kind of reminds me of like what you would see kind of like an early millennium New York City style or Philadelphia hip hop, right?
So, sorry to interrupt you. Just for anyone watching, my daughter is bombing. She got a face paint. She's showing everyone. Say hi.
Oh, that is so cute.
Hi. All right, baby.
Hi.
Okay.
That was so darling, dude. That was so darling.
Yeah, she snuck in there. I could not say something about a little girl looking like a face painted animal behind me.
That is so cute, man. That is so cute. Well, here, I won't take up too much of your time. Here, let's go down just a little bit. And this is the Om series, because I also teach yoga. So there's popular leggings, as well compression gear at the top, as well. There's you see the flip-flops and the Mai Tai Chi course hoodie. Now, if you go down just a little bit more, there's more of the Mai Tai Chi course, the print all over gray sweater collector series. We can go down just a little bit more. There's the Kaju Life embroider with the regular hat, kind of the baseball cap, that tight fit. And that one fits really snug to my head, but that's down at the dojo right now. The Kaju hoodie, the white one, we don't have to click on it, but the one with the white logo that has the shoulder strap, that one's chill. That one's right now in the wash. I wish I had that one ready right now, but that one, I really like that one a lot. It's super comfy, and the print all over design looks really chill. It's not like a latex paint. It actually it's in the fabric. So, and then there's the neck gaiter. We go down a little bit more to that next layer. You see more permutations of the design, but it's some people really like the power words: mind, body, spirit, speed, power, accuracy, stun, par, put away, kind of things. You'd like the holy trinity of that kind of stuff, right? Being the faith, hope, and charity clover right there in the center. And then the compression gear leggings. The leggings, yes, they're being modeled at this time by it looks like by a woman, but it's unisex. So I should probably change the overall image, because if you have compression gear, either compression shorts or compression pants, and you're wearing shorts over those, kind of thing, like the loose shorts, they still work really well. Cause a fair amount of slippage and all that, and you kind of move around freely. Let's go down just a little bit, bro. And there's the compression gear on the shirt side. Simple logo on the front with a little, bit of the logo on the back. We can go down just a little bit more. More permutation of the same thing for the students. We can go down just a little bit. And now this kind of steps into more of the Aloha. You see the flip flops with the turtles, the Honu series, the Honu style, the same tribal design with the color, and there's an iPhone case. Some of those, I sold a couple of those, but I think those are moving out, so I have to switch those out with something else. Here, let's go down a little bit more. Oh, load. And I don't think we have too much more if you got it, just a little bit of time. And there's that snapback right there, along with the original flip flops and the what I think is the prettier Honu plumeria, kind of blue teal. Let's go down just a bit. Now, one of my favorite things, which I think I'm also going to end up having to give you, because you look like you also teach and work a lot, is a coffee mug. So one of my favorites is, and I got both. I got both the series, but let's click on that Kaju Life mug. I love my Kaju Life mug. This thing's great, bro. Yeah, the 360 design, and there's two different sizes, and it's it's got the 15 ounce, which is definitely necessary, and it's got the other 12 ounce, right? But yeah, it works. Right? It's definitely a cup to drink my coffee out of when thinking about Kajukenbo.
That's sick, and I do. I drink. As a Puerto Rican, I drink a lot of coffee.
Ooh. Well, I'll give a recommendation to I'll give you a recommendation to a really nice coffee shop. Those that are listening out there, if you're looking for a wonderful organic coffee, is it okay if I kind of give a plug? I mean, they don't know.
Oh yeah, go.
I just drink their stuff. It's amazing, right? So if you're on Oahu and you're in North Oahu, right? There's a place that's on the intersection of the highways in North Oahu. It's called Green World Coffee Company. And they are an organic 7-acre plot that pulls from other organic plots throughout the islands. Their blends are fresh made, and it is the best coffee I've ever had. And I've had a lot of really good coffee. I haven't quite had that Kuala Lumpur, the catch coffee, you know what I'm talking about, that special one there. I would like to at some point in time when I'm really eccentric and rich, but I don't think I'm gonna end up getting there anytime soon, bro, because I teach martial arts for a living, and I think that's another subject for another time, right? This accessibility of having a decent living. No, for those out there, what does a full-time martial artist make when you diversify and you have a lot of tools that you kind of pull from? Well, the first 10 years in was under 12,000, and I had to work side jobs. The following 5 years from that point was getting me up to the 50,000 line. And then just shortly after that 5 year, I've been doing this, building my clientele since 2000 and 2001. And so it's been about 20 some odd years in building my clientele and my community to where I'm over 50,000 right now. And so it's higher than that, but at the same time, it allows me to, as a self-employed person, to have to dish out, the taxes and everything else, and be able to put money away, because it's, I have to do my own private investments and all that kind of stuff. So I really have to tuck stuff away. So trying to be a responsible business owner whose primary income comes from giving a service to people rather than a good, and trying to interact with them positively and maintaining positive referrals and clientele. And just here, it's been a good bread and butter. But yes, it's a job. It's just over broke. It's a job, right? And that kind of leaves you with a weird feeling. But you have purpose, right? You're teaching martial arts to people that need it, and you have a story to tell when you do it. So for those that are out there that you're doing your struggle, and you see people out there, and you're still a martial artist, you're doing your thing, and you don't want to give up, don't, because the purpose is better than the pudding, you know. So you just kind of, you work with your confidence, you build yourself up, and you keep moving forward. You adapt to the times as they present it to you. You continue to push, in what you feel you believe to do is right. And if you got naysayers, be chill on it. Spread aloha. Be happy about it. Bring them in, so that you can know how to negotiate it when they try to do something else, right? Or just don't waste your time altogether. You don't have to naysay and slam. Just keep it, ohana, and you say aloha, and then good luck to you, bro. If that's the case. But in general, those are talk story philosophy for another podcast, maybe in a group kind of talk. I'd love to jump on one of those, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely would like to have you back for a black belt meeting.
Oh, that would be great.
And I think it would be really good. I have been wanting to do a black belt meeting about balancing work life with trying to balance work life, make money, and at the same time do martial arts. And if martial arts is your main business, how that's done. If you're a retired fighter, which I am, how that what that looks like. Yeah, that's a whole other topic, and there's a whole million things I can go. So I'll definitely want to have you back for that. I want to mention that at the end of this episode, so people can kind of keep that in mind at the end of this episode, that I'm going to have you back for that topic, and then I'll remember when I invite you back. But Tim, before you go, what are some final words? Final Jerry Springer, final words that you'd like to share with my listeners or viewers?
I hope that, when you listen to these podcasts, that you walk away with as much of a positive feeling that I get when I listen to them. They're very educational. They motivate you. You kind of listen to the ins and outs, and you get people who have quite a story to tell. So you just stick along with the Social Jello channel, and you keep kind of, supporting the local. You try to do your best, like I say, to spread aloha as best you can, and share in that family and kind of move forward, right? To kind of second. Kind of a second phrase, like if you're just a listener but not a practitioner, and you're getting curious about stuff, there's resources, like what we have here on Social Jello, or people like me who are just open to talk. If you just want to message us and pick our brains about stuff, I go to colleges and do hour-long discussions or more at conventions for psychology and all of these other things. So, and do PowerPoint presentations for masters and PhDs. So I teach to them, and then I talk about it to children too. And so I try to do the 5 levels of explaining things to people, from a very simple to a more complex form. So if you have any questions for me on, Kajukenbo and its parallels with other systems, or just want to talk about Kajukenbo in general, as including other Chinese martial arts, of the softer styles or harder styles inside of the Chinese martial arts systems, more to the point of the internal systems of Tai Chi Chuan, Bagua Zhang, Xing Yi Chuan, all of those particular modes. I'm happy to do that, including yoga and just basic meditation. If you're a tech geek like me, and you want to talk about brain waves, because I have some mobile EEG, strap it to your head and read your brain waves while you're doing meditation stuff, and talk about the the numbers as they're going by, and get wowed about a line on close graph on certain number of values, and you're going to be like, oh man, that's it. Then and you're a physics geek, talk to me. I love that stuff, man. I have the original Feynman lectures, college lectures, in the red book form, the entire flight. I just absolutely love it. So from, philosophy to physics to the physical side of martial arts, I love talking about. It's one of my favorite things. So you have resources out there. that you have access to that are open for you to just chat it up and to not give you anything but what it is that you may be looking for, no pressure. Right.
And where
So,
can people contact you? Where can they reach out to you?
well, you can, as you had said, like like you can contact on Facebook or directly through my site. I would say the best thing, since what we were talking about was that pro shop, is contact me through that website. There should be an email associated, which is mytaichicourse@gmail.com. Again, mytaichicourse@gmail.com. And that should get me directly. And I have that, kind of tethered into other devices. So I do usually answer within the day if that was the case. Go onto the website, check it out. Most of it is subscriber based so that the website can stay up. It is a small family, kind of grouping. It serves my community, and it's been definitely helping me out in the harder times. But on there, it has all of my material, and I update my material every year or 2 years, or just add more in the periods that I end up producing it. I'll put in a chunk of work, edit that, and throw that out there. So you have resources for Tai Chi and Kaj, resources for some pretty cool clothes if you want that. If you're a Kaj practitioner, go for it, bruh. And then on the other side of that, just to chat it up. I'm really good with that.
Sweet.
Okay.
Well, you heard it here, everyone. Definitely check out his website. And Tim, thanks again for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And I'm definitely going to have you back on. We're going to chat some more about some more topics. And for my listeners, stay tuned for the wrap up. And that's a wrap. Thanks for checking out Social Jello with Angelo. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and share it with your friends. This show grows organically. So that goes with people like you watching and people like you listening. Click the link, share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. If it uplifted you, hopefully it can uplift more people. All right, y'all have a great week, and I'll catch you later. Peace.